joining us now on the line, giving us his time from the NHL's bubble as the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Sheldon Keefe. Sheldon, welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
When you heard the news, like the rest of us, about the Marlins, what we were just talking about, and listen, I know this isn't an easy answer. I know I would really miss my family. I know I'd really miss a lot of comforts of home. Does it make you less comfortable with your return to play, or does the news that Sid just gave you about the 0 positives over the last week for the NHL give you a little bit more comfort about your return to play?
Yeah, I think really just focused on what's happening with our league and with our team, and then of course here in our city, given that it's not only where I call home and my family is, but it's where the NHL has gathered here for the Eastern teams, and our city and our province, our country, I think has done an excellent job. First of all, to be able to be recognized as one of the cities trusted to host this event. But I think we're just focused on what's happening here, and I think that the results speak for themselves in terms of the protocols that have been put in place, and the commitment that the players and staff members have had to be responsible and do all that they can to remain healthy and come into this bubble situation here now as healthy as possible, and then of course remaining diligent to keep it that way.
Yeah. Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the Leafs. Anything along those lines, Timmy, before we kind of get into some happier hockey-related stuff? Because it's been kind of a dark start to the show. So let's get to the hub, Sheldon. When you walk through it, because if memory serves, you guys, the Leafs checked in later on yesterday. You're walking through the Royal York. Are you thinking to yourself, we could do this? If we make a cup run, like I could see it. Like, what was your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction was last night, and as you said, we did arrive later. We kind of purposely set it up so that we could spend as much time as possible with our families and outside the bubble, and be able to kind of spend that day off that we had put forth for everybody to spend the time there. Obviously, coming into the situation now, we hope it's a long time before we get a chance to see them again, but we set it up that way. So then we arrived late, and my first impression was that it was pretty usual and simple arrival, not unlike what we were accustomed to when we arrive on the road, which is you walk in with your luggage and the key to your room is laid out on a table. You pick it up and you keep walking, you get on the elevator and you go to your room and you unpack. And that was really the extent of my night. So it was pretty simple in that sense. This morning was certainly different. Just a lot more people walking around, and we're sharing the hotel here with 6 other teams. And of course, in the morning, virtually all teams are getting up and running and having breakfast and getting ready for their day and heading off to the practice facility. So and we had the testing and all that stuff to get through. So it was a little more of a shock to the system, I guess you could say, this morning. Yeah. But it just gives you the confidence that a lot of attention to details been put in place here to keep everybody safe, and the logistics that are at play here are incredible when you think of it, how quickly this all came together. And going over to Ford Performance Center for practice today, and all of a sudden you're sharing your facility with 11 other NHL teams, it was quite a sight.
So, like in the morning, are you playing like elevator roulette, or do you guys have like coordinated times? Everyone takes stairs. Like, are the logistics down to that much of a fine tune, or is it just mask up and make sure you try and keep your social distance?
Yeah, well, everyone's masked up, and you have to keep social distance given that there are some inevitable encounters. And we've had some of those in the elevators, and they're keeping the elevators at two people per elevator at a time. Right. So that in itself, at certain times of the day, breakfast being the big one, that seemed like it was a little more traffic, a little more waiting. But there's a lot of elevators here at the hotel at the Royal York, and of course, it's really just the NHL teams and some NHL staff that are staying here. So it's not as many people as you probably would normally see. So the elevators have run fairly smoothly, and there's been a little bit of stairs here and there too, which is not a bad thing for a guy like me.
Getting the calf workout going up and down those stairs.
Yeah, that's right.
How easy is it to run into, let's say I'm picking a random team, a Columbus Blue Jacket in an elevator? How separated is everybody?
Well, everybody has their own floor in terms of where they're staying. There are some floors, some of the staff that are from different teams are spread out and sharing floors, but for the most part, like every one of our players, as an example, are all on the same floor, and nobody else from any other team is on that floor. And there's a player lounge on that floor, so you don't have to move around a whole lot, other than really just the meals. That's the most movement, and of course, anytime you're going to the rink, there's going to be a lot of movement, and that's where the encounters are. And I shared the elevator a few times already with people from different teams, so it's inevitable that you're going to run into the team you're playing against, but that's all part of it. And there certainly is a little bit of a feel that kind of brings you back to your days in minor hockey and being in the rinks in minor hockey. Yeah, I was walking out of Ford Performance Center today, and kind of had to walk through basically the setup of 11 other teams, and felt like I could stop at the front door and maybe get an action shot of myself from the day or something like that. We were selling at
buy
the
some
arena.
mini sticks.
It felt like that kind of a feel. So it's pretty cool, and obviously very unique when it comes to an NHL environment. So there's a lot to take in here.
Sheldon Keefe, head coach of Toronto Maple Leafs, joining us here. I want to talk some hockey, and obviously there has been some news from camps as you guys have allowed the media in there. The Marner, Tavares, Matthews line in camp had a bunch of tweeters, a bunch of websites going a little crazy. Is that something you plan on backpocketing in case of emergency? Could folks see a lot of it? And did you think that just playing those three guys in a scrimmage together would draw as much attention as it did?
Well, there really wasn't a lot of thought or planning to go into it, to be honest. I mean, it is a line that I've used at different times throughout a game just to try to give us a boost or take advantage of a situation where the three of them were rested and available. I've done it at different times, and it's certainly something I would intend on doing, or wouldn't hesitate to do if the situation was right. And that particular day was Zach Hyman was questionable on whether he was going to be available for the day, because he had got banged up a little bit, and then it turned out he didn't skate that day, and we had a plan for the day, and then we had to change it. And I just thought, it's a good chance, that is the type of situation where you're forced to make changes when somebody goes out. And for that particular day, I just thought it was a good chance to give those guys some time together, but it wasn't any sort of master plan or anything like that. It was just really kind of spontaneous, which I think if in any event that I do go to that, it would be a similar situation where I just kind of feel like it makes sense at that time.
Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the Leafs here on Tim and Sid. A reminder, tomorrow might be the most watched night of exhibition hockey in Canadian television history as the Leafs take on the Habs on Sportsnet 1, and then Edmonton and Calgary. And who the hell knows what's going to happen when those two get together on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 1 at 10:30. From the Toronto and Edmonton hubs, respectively. I want to talk about your game and specifically Nick Robertson, Sheldon, 18-year-old. He's been practicing a lot on the third line. Has he made the opening night roster Sunday night against Columbus for game one? And if he hasn't, what does he have to show you tomorrow night to get into that lineup?
Well, we haven't made any decisions on how the Sunday is going to look. We want to give Nick every opportunity, and in terms of what he needs to do, of course, we need him to feel comfortable and be able to, do the things that he does very well, which of course is provide offense in the way he shoots the puck, but also he's got to be able to win puck battles. He's got to be able to compete against bigger, stronger, and faster players. All those types of things. But there's also, we have to make a decision still as a team and as an organization on whether it's the right thing to do for Nick. We're not in a situation here where we're going to force him into the lineup by any means. We need to make sure that he is prepared and he's ready. We're not putting him in a situation that he's not prepared for, especially considering what's at stake. And then we also have to kind of look at it in the fact that we have we have other options. We have players who have played for us and that we're comfortable with. And, obviously we focus on the 13 we've been working with, but we also have Dennis Malgin here and Nick Patan, guys who've played for us in the NHL and have, we've won games with them in the lineup. And you have all these different things that we're going to be managing. And by and large, with all of our players here, we know what to expect from them. And Nick would be the one guy that we're unsure of, and because he doesn't have the experience and hasn't had the opportunity to play even an exhibition game yet. So we're going to provide him that. We're going to take in all the information and make the right decision. But it's going to be a combination, of course, of what's the best thing for our lineup for game one, and then what's the best thing for Nick.
With apologies to my co-host because he just did it. You've gotten a lot of questions about Nick Robertson. And one of the things that has always frustrated me about Canadian markets, and Toronto might be the worst, is that they build guys up before anyone knows if they're ready. And I almost feel for guys like Nick Robertson, who gets hyped up because he's played well and done his job. Like I know why they're doing it. He has done his job, but it almost sets unrealistic expectations just because they've done their job. Does that concern you as a coach, or do you notice that?
Well, I certainly notice it. I don't know if concern is the right word, but we have to be aware of it. I mean, I've spoken to Nick about it, and even he himself admitted to me, that he was a little bit surprised, and he didn't use the term overwhelmed, but I will, just in terms of the attention that was put on him. And this is a guy that hasn't even yet turned 19, and this is not a guy that was drafted first overall. This was a second round draft pick that's found ways to generate hype and attention because of the type of year he had and the type of work that he's put in and the talent that he has. But there's no timeline. Nobody says that he has to be ready for this situation. We think it's great, and it's a great sign for him and for our team that he's in the conversation and he has been able to stick along this, to this point of our camp. To be even in the exhibition game, that's a great sign. But we haven't made any decisions here, and we're certainly not getting caught up in any sort of hype or attention. As I've told Nick, that what happens on the ice is really all that matters, and that's where the focus needs to be, both in our evaluation and in his preparation.
Right. Well, Sheldon, only about 2 weeks left of watching all that Blue Jackets film. You're almost done. You're almost done. Has it been 2.5 months?
Yeah.
Honestly, how many months have you been watching Blue Jackets film?
It's been I can't even remember when this started, but even really before it was announced how this all was going to work and who our opponent might be, we were working pretty extensively on really every team in the Eastern Conference, just partially because we didn't know what scenario we would be coming back into. But also, we just thought it'd be a good chance for us to use the time to learn about other teams and what they do and what makes them good and all of that stuff. So we were well down the path with many teams, the Blue Jackets being one, and then, of course, even deeper as we've learned that that's who our opponent is. But I've really been spending the majority of my time on our own team, and we're fortunate we've got a lot of great members of our staff that have been putting in a lot of work on the side, and I've told them I don't need to hear or learn too much all at once, but just kind of little pieces as I need to know it. And when I get some free time, I check in on it and make sure that what we're doing is in line with how we want to prepare for the series. But the focus really has been about our team, and it continues to be. And then, certainly as we get through tomorrow, we'll narrow our focus even more, of course, on Columbus.
Well, last one here, Sid. I just want to jump as you're talking, I'm thinking this is something we've never seen before. Is there one thing in this preparation that has stood out to you more than anything else? I can't imagine what it would be to go through preparations like this for what'll be a 5-game series.
Well, you know what? Probably the biggest thing that stands out is just that almost every day it's something new is happening, and there's new information that affects this or that, and you have to adjust. I don't know how many times we've made plans, whether big picture plans for what's gonna happen a month from now, or when you get to the point you have right now we have a plan that we put in place yesterday that would be our plan for tomorrow. And then after what we've experienced today, we think there's some things we need to adjust, and getting a sense for what life is like here in the hotel, we've got to make some adjustments. And redo our plan for tomorrow. So I think it's just the fact that you have to adjust and deal with things as they come, and that, coaches love to plan, of course, but it's been very difficult to do that. And it seems every time we do, we're using the term that it's a fluid situation, and we're going to have to see how it goes and make sure we get the players' feedback at the same time.
All of us. It's been a long road for all of us, but I can't wait to see you guys back on the ice tomorrow, along with the Flames and Oilers and Habs. Just, Sheldon, we appreciate the time. Nothing but health to you and the guys, and enjoy it as much as you can. Enjoy it, and all the best to you. Take care.
Well, I appreciate that. We intend to. Thank you.
All right, be well. There is Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it looks like the NHL, after 0 positive tests over the last week, are in a good position. Can we say the same about Major League Baseball, as an outbreak has hit the Miami Marlins?